Hello, everybody. Hope you had a nice 4th of July weekend. And now we're ready for rental assistance again. So I'm going to do kind of a brief overview of some of the available programs. I'll stop after each one, so if you have questions, I can try to answer them. And then at the end, we can talk about next steps. So rental assistance options. The first thing I wanted to share for you is just the results of the housing survey. Thanks to everybody who was able to assist in that. Things look a little bit less bleak, maybe I should say, than I thought they would, which is good. We had, about 65% of our households who weren't behind, and about 36% who were. Most of those were behind, the majority of those were behind 2 months or less. And the average rent owed was about $1,200. And I think that's right within the range of what a lot of these rental assistance programs can provide. So I'm very hopeful that, we can kind of fill a lot of these gaps between the 3 programs that I'm going to talk about today. Similarly with utilities, we had a fair amount of folks who weren't as behind on utilities. And as you can see, we did have some people, about 6 out of, I think this ended up being about 85 households who did get the first rental assistance lottery. So we have some people who are already kind of covered, which is great. So first, just to kind of put this all in context, timeline-wise, I think everyone's familiar that there are no evictions in the city of Philadelphia before August 31st. We have the court system, the eviction courts in Philadelphia have confirmed that they will not reopen until September. So City Council had passed that moratorium of evictions until August the 31st, but the court needed to kind of say and agree to it, and they have done that. So that's good. Surrounding counties kind of vary. So if you have clients in other counties, we'll talk about that, but you may want to kind of check in and make sure they're okay. Both PICO and PGW have now announced a moratorium until further notice. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 available programs. So I'm going to talk about CERA Round 2, Office of Supportive Housing Funding, and then our internal resources. So the first is CERA Round 2. This application looks a lot like the application, the rental lottery application, with one pretty significant change. So this is a statewide program. I've copied here the guidelines for Philadelphia because I know many of our clients, most of our clients reside in Philadelphia, but each county has their own pot of money and process for processing these applications. I have included here the state website for finding the correct county application. Some are paper, many are online, but every county in Pennsylvania is offering this rental assistance. There are not designated amounts per county, excuse me. Instead, as people apply, the county will submit those to the state and they will be approved in an ongoing basis. So this is not a lottery system. This is turn in your application and it'll be processed on a rolling basis between today, July the 6th, and September the 30th. So you must be a resident of the county of which you're applying. So for Philadelphia residents, you must, similar to the previous lottery, provide information on both the landlord and the renter. Your income loss must be due to COVID-19. So you must have an income loss due to COVID-19. This program, therefore, does not apply to people who weren't working before and still aren't working or other things. The next program, I'll talk about that. Similarly, you need to prove that you've gotten unemployment afterwards if you have employment as a source of income. Then your income must be lower than 100% of area median income. That's $87,000 for a family of 3. So it's a higher area median income than the previous application. So it's $750 per month, or up to the person's proportional share of that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The payments go directly to the landlords, and landlords do have to agree to the terms. A couple of key things for this one in this round. They are now asking for Social Securities or ITIN numbers. They are saying that undocumented folks can apply, but only if they have an ITIN number. That is obviously disappointing, and CLS is, but CLS is telling us that basically we have to abide by that. It takes time to get an ITIN number. So what I'm recommending that you do for folks who do not have a Social Security number or an ITIN and need to access this funding because they lost their income due to COVID, the landlord can actually apply on their behalf. And so I think our time is best spent trying to advocate for the landlord to apply. If the landlord has, requisite status, versus waiting. From what I understand, the ITIN numbers are going to take about 6 weeks to come back. I think there's a pretty strong likelihood that this money is going to be gone in 6 weeks. So I think if people don't have a Social Security number or an ITIN, their best bet is to apply through their landlord. Sorry, I see people asking questions in here. Any questions on, so it does require a Social Security number. We talked about the increased income guidelines. Oh, the other change in this program from the first lottery is that separate roommates can apply separately. So before it was like a landlord, or if people were living together, they had to choose one person to go through the application. They can now apply separately up to the cap of their rent. So if their lease is in their name and it says, Gretchen Schanfeld pays $500 a month, they can apply for up to $500 a month of assistance, presuming they meet all the other requirements, the income guidelines, the Social Security number, the loss of income due to COVID. So I think that can make it a little straightforward for those roommate shared housing situations. They are accepting any kind of lease under this program, including verbal leases. You can literally type in, I have a verbal lease and I pay this much. They're accepting all of that. But the big kind of challenge is the Social Security numbers and the ITINs. So I'm getting some questions. I'm going to take the last two. So what if the total rent is in the lease, but the roommates split the rent between them? So they said that's fine. If both roommates' names are on the lease, they can each apply, and then they would just type in the comments, I pay $500. The total rent is $1,000. So that would be those splitting of costs between landlords would be considered like a verbal agreement. Does that make sense? Bana has a question. If they had a job offer rescinded due to COVID, are they eligible? They're receiving UC. I would put it in and try it. I think particularly if they have an offer letter or something to show that they were going to have income and COVID has impacted that. The state reviewers who are going to be reviewing these applications said they were going to take income information very broadly. So yes, I would proceed with an application for that person, particularly if they're receiving UC, because that kind of proves that they have a loss of, income. I do not think clients have to be at least, Bana had a question, if clients have to be at least 30 days past due on rent to be eligible. I believe it's any rental arrears. That's my understanding. Amy had a question. Are landlords allowed to charge fees for late payment of rents? No, not in Philadelphia. Other counties, it goes on a county by county basis, but not in Philadelphia. You should not be seeing late fees or things of that nature. Other questions on CERA?
Gretchen, does it mean landlords must agree and have the option to not agree with it?
I don't know if anyone could talk about their experience with the lottery. So landlords basically need to agree that they're not going to go, that they're going to accept $750 even if the rent is $850. They need to provide their rental license. Like, they need to jump through some hoops. I don't know if anybody who has experience with that wants to talk about the response they're hearing from landlords.
I had one landlord who wouldn't do it because they didn't have a license, and they just wouldn't do it. It stinks because it affects them. So I think if you have the conversation of being like, I understand it's hoops to jump through. However, it's a guarantee. Like, well, I guess in that case it wasn't guaranteed, but you know, it's a way for you to get your rent paid. This one would be, well, then then it's a way for you to get paid for rent.
Yeah, I mean, it's first come, first serve, but like, I think it's the difference between them getting money or not.
Yeah.
And the rental license is only $50. Like, it shouldn't be, it's not like it's like a, you know, a really in-depth process. It's getting a piece of paper from L&I.
Yeah, so, I don't know why they did it. I don't know, but that was my experience. I had one person who was flat out like, no, I don't want to do that. So
yeah, I
think it happens.
Yeah, it does unfortunately happen. But again, landlords can apply on this, and maybe if they feel like, you know, they want to do that, they can just do it basically without their lessee being involved, right? They can say, I have a property, here's my payment register, you can see my payment started in March, and the landlord can get the payment directly. So that could be another way to kind of like do an end around if people don't have a social security number. Let me go back to my slides. All right, so the next is Office of Supportive Housing Funding. So this is just for Philadelphia residents. I'm still working on kind of culling out what other counties are doing. They do want picture ID for all household members. They do not require both birth certificates or social security cards, although they want those. Proof of income. They're making an exception for number 3, a court eviction or notice to vacate, obviously, because those are not applicable right now. So you just need to show the rental arrears. Again, the landlord does need to have a license, and you do need to provide a W-9, although that's unclear to me. A lot of these are being waived. This is a phone number based. It's a phone application process, so that's exciting. Not exciting. It's kind of annoying, actually. You're going to call and leave a message, and then they call you back, and it's kind of a fair amount of back and forth. They do need a statement of their current balance, how far behind they are, a copy of the lease, and then there's a couple of things that are security deposits only. This is a smaller amount of money. It's only $1,500. Except in rare cases, but I wanted to present it because we had a lot of people who are in that like smaller range. The requirement, or the usual requirement of this program through the city, is that the situation has been quote unquote remediated, meaning the person is now working or the person now has a way to pay their rent. They are being somewhat lenient with that. So if you have somebody who's, you know, a month and a half or 2 months behind and is now working some, or is now kind of can come up with some, you can work together to come up with some reason that they will be able to pay their rent in the future. I think it's a good opportunity to gain that $1,500. This is a phone application, so if you go to the website, I'll send this out. You'll call, and then they'll do the application with you, or you and your client over the phone. They say they have language access, but we haven't been able to verify that very well, I would say. So we will be publicizing this information, the packet that I sent out that my intern Julia made last week over Facebook and things like that. But I would recommend, if you can, kind of advocate for your client, just at least getting them started with this application. They say they have language access, so hopefully that would be true. So before I move on to the third, a couple of other kind of ideas and things that were included in Julia's the Canva document PDF that I sent out. One is, if you have trouble or questions or things of that nature, please let me know. We have, oh, hi. If we have spoken to both the person who runs the OSH supportive housing funding and the person who runs the CERA funding personally, and I'm happy to send them emails and be like, this doesn't work or this doesn't make sense. So please, the minute you run into trouble, keep me in the loop. The second is, I know a lot of you, and I appreciate, are sending me like questions or what should I do, and my primary answer is call the community legal services tenant line, and I strongly recommend you do that as well. I'll include that in my email. They are great. They're pretty responsive, and they kind of are on the front lines and will actually take the person, in some cases, take the person's case and kind of see it through. So certainly keep me in the loop. It's kind of a quick fix, and or reach out to community legal services. They're doing phone intakes. Colin asked for this second program. Is the social security number a requirement? No. When we asked them, they said that they, prefer that for tracking purposes, but it is open to undocumented folks as well. So that's the kind of thing. If you have trouble with like one of the requirements on there, just shoot me a quick email. We'll get on the phone with David. Danielle and I talked to him 2 weeks ago, and he said, call me if you have a problem. So please let us know. All right, next program here. Internal resources, I don't have a full, I can give you the overview. We have launched phase 2 of the We're All in This Together fund, and we're anticipating, we're aiming to raise another $100,000 through that fund. Some of that will go to food access, some of that will go to rental assistance. My thinking is that we'll really try to maximize these 2 programs that I've described. And then, sorry, it's thundering and my dog's like freaking out. And then people who either won't be able to be served or people who are kind of still outstanding, once that eviction moratorium comes closer, we would kind of package something under We're All in This Together for them, if that makes sense. So it'll be kind of like a stopgap as we get closer to August 31st. The Survivor Services funding is also kind of on its way. We have a project modification request that will be available up to, who's on here who can tell me, $3,000 or $4,000, I'm not sure, to about 44 families under Survivor Services, 45 to 50 families in rental assistance. So as soon as that's approved, we'll start to move that through, and that's available to, any VOCA eligible client. So we'll get that out. Brianna asked, can clients apply for more than one of these? No. I mean, internal, yes, but you should kind of choose the best bet, CERA or Office of Supportive Housing, and go for one, because they are going to take into account other rental assistance. So you shouldn't apply for one. Here are my recommendations of kind of next steps. One is prioritizing CERA applications. So looking at your caseload and knowing, okay, or asking who has lost income due to COVID and prioritizing those, because those are the first in first through applications, but those are only going to be our people who lost income due to COVID and are behind in rent. Then I would work on Office of Supportive Housing applications to supplement anybody who's not. And then again, looking at the internal resources, and I should have more information for you in the next week or two on those. We do have and then finally just rental assist or utility assistance. I recognize we do, I think, have about like 30 to 40% of our clients who are behind in rental assistance. I'm still trying to shore up everything there, and I'm hoping in our joint department meeting next Monday, I can give you something to go to clients to be like, here's what you need to do to get utility assistance kind of set up. So I think focusing on rental assistance here this week makes the most sense. I'll take, let me just say one more thing about interns. I do have, if you have more than a handful of applications to do for CERA or OSH, you can email me. I do have interns that are willing to help you, and I will assign you out a lovely little helper who can assist you. If you only have a couple to do, I'm asking that you ask your own interns within your program, but anything more than 3 or more, we can assist you with. Just shoot me an email and I'll connect you with the intern over email. I think I have 6 or 7 of those, so just let me know. Megan asks, is it possible to translate the document you sent out so that we can share it with clients? Yes, I will put out today. CLS has some good translated stuff on different things, so I'll make sure you get links to some translated information for clients today, and try to get that document translated as well. So I think, you know, if I were you, look at your caseload and kind of think who fits in what bucket. You know, who, an easy one is, you know, lost income due to COVID, is just kind of, you know, struggling in general. Those are 2 ways to separate. Then you may have a group of folks who lost income due to COVID but don't have a social security number and ITIN, so you need to work with the landlord. So kind of separating out and sussing out who's who and where they can go. The Philadelphia CERA application is online. So if you have clients that are, you know, tech savvy, they can certainly do it themselves. They do need some capacity to like take pictures and upload things, but it's pretty straightforward, similar to the lottery application. So CERA, do they have to be behind on rent? What if they're close to being behind on rent? So once they fall behind on rent, you can apply for CERA. So like if they didn't pay for July now and July rent is due, they could apply, but you have to show that you have some amount of rental arrears. There's no minimum amount, so you don't have to be 3 months behind, but as you do have to be behind some month, some amount. So I would recommend, you know, kind of that program is open until September 30th. But I think all the advocates that I've heard speaking think that that money will run out well before then, because it's going to be kind of processed in and out. So I would recommend kind of prioritizing those, and if people are behind. Other questions, concerns? So take a little bit of a look at your caseload and think kind of who fits where. If you have more than, you know, 3 or 4 applications to do, email me and I'll connect you with an intern who can help you navigate or get documents together or things of that nature. Or if you have an intern on your team who, you know, is great, feel free to, you know, have them help you, who already knows your caseload. Amy had a question, are we helping former clients with this? We're not planning to. We ran that call-in line last time. Nobody called. We didn't get any calls over the 4 days, even though I had lovely volunteers who were ready and willing. We are planning to put out the English version of that document that Julia had with the different links to things on Facebook, and hopefully get some traction with that. We'll put out a translated version now that we're going to translate that too. I think the messaging to former clients is try to apply on your own for these programs. Like I said, it's relatively straightforward, and the OSH line says they have language access, so I would really encourage them to try to do it on their own. If you hear a lot of need for a call-in line, I mean, I can have my intern run it, but like I said last time, we didn't get any calls. And CLS will assist people if they have kind of sticky landlord issues or things like that. So we're going to be putting some things up on social media, and I follow a number of other organizations on social media that provide kind of language specific. There's a ton out there in Spanish. Afajo posted the information in French today, so I think there is information out there, and I'll try to, like I said, collate that and make sure you have it so you can get that out to clients if clients are contacting you and asking you. Any other questions, concerns? So please don't hesitate to shoot me an email if you need an intern. If you get stuck with something that you're like, this isn't right, this isn't how this should be going, I'm more than happy to run that stuff up the chain really quickly to these contacts that we have, and to call CLS. They want to hear from, they want to make sure that they've expressed to us multiple times. They want to make sure that particular immigrant and LEP clients, are able to access these services. So please don't hesitate to call that tenant line as well. Yeah, we had that. Colin asked, how should we divide up shared clients across different programs? Because we had that nice little list going last time. I hadn't thought about that. How did I forget about that? I will have Carolyn run a shared client list today, and do the highlighting thing that I did last time, and then you guys can kind of talk it out. I'll have her work on that right now. Last time I just did whoever had the lower amount of applications to do got to do the ones that were out. But I will work on that now, Colin. Thanks for reminding that. All right, with that, I'm going to give you 30 minutes back to start playing around with these applications and looking at it. I will get you the translated information and the documents and the recording of this later today. And don't forget to email me if you need an intern's help. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.